against the law. They're trying to make it against the law to feed the homeless. I mean, it's nuts. So we need to say maybe we need a way looking forward to ways legally we can stop that kind of nonsense and say you can't say it's illegal. Hey, Sean.
Yes.
You need to mute, Sean.
Yeah, just thanks.
That's interesting you said that, Phyllis. It seems like with the homeless thing, it's community rules. You know, like you said about Lancaster, they outlawed what?
They outlawed feeding the homeless.
Feeding the homeless. You know, I was thinking about that a couple of weeks ago. I think I said last week, my son lives in Redondo, Manhattan Beach area. And if you've ever been there, I mean, you talk about La La Land.
Yeah.
It is. When I go there, I feel like I'm in a completely different reality than anyone, no matter where I go.
Yeah.
You know? And Manhattan Beach, especially, you don't see any homeless in Manhattan Beach. And, you know, you have to think, you know why? Because those people pay such high taxes to the local community, to the local government, that they literally have their own hired police force that removes any sign of homelessness immediately. Now you go, yeah. And, you know, who knows where they send them? You know, probably if you go 3 miles, you can literally go ride a bicycle on the seawall from Manhattan to Venice Beach, and you will not see any homeless from Manhattan, let's say through El Segundo, I think is the next stop up. And then you're on into Venice Beach, where it is covered with homeless, even on the seawall. On one side of the seawall, there's restaurants, bars, restaurants, shops. And then on the other side of the seawall, towards the ocean, it's an endless encampment of homeless people. You know, so for some reason, Venice doesn't enforce anything like Manhattan does.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, like you said, Lancaster. So it seems like it's a community thing. And
well, you can be sure places like Beverly Hills and Bel Air and those kind of high-end places aren't going to have a homeless issue either. Same situation as what you're saying. The higher taxes, they're covering it. And
Hollywood.
hi, Demi.
Yeah, hi, Demi.
Hi.
Yeah, Hollywood. Same thing. You were mentioning that on some of the calls, that you didn't have as big a problem. Well, it was present. It's present, but you didn't have as big a problem as, let's say, South Central, of course.
No, I think that's where the worst is, and probably Venice. But as I've been just touring more in Hollywood to kind of, well, partly to see this, it's really, I mean, it is amazing. It really is amazing. It definitely is something to do with the kind of community that the consciousness that people have in Redondo Beach. And, you know, you kind of, there's a decided high level of self-respect overall in these places, I would say. And this is kind of part of what creates the kind of vibes and the kind of communities these places are. But other places, the creativity of Venice has always been pretty remarkable. The bohemian quality, and the same with Hollywood. But something has collapsed, and it's just turned into what it has turned into. It's shit. And I got an email from Mitch O'Farrell, who's our congressman here, and he's talking about $110 million is going to be spent on the homeless. You can imagine how it's going to be spent. Last week I spent a morning with Julie, who's one of the key members of the center, which deals with homeless people in LA, especially Hollywood area. And she and the center got really helped out with a homeless man that I'd kind of adopted earlier this year, and thank God for them. And she told me that they have building that they're doing or something like they're expecting $400,000 per unit to build housing for the homeless.
Wow.
I mean, this is insane. So I am going to wait till after the year begins, and I'm going to see if I can sit down and talk with Mitch O'Farrell, because I think what I'm going to be running into, and I have to play this really well if I can, is that we're not talking about a will to deal with this problem, but a will to avoid it and to use it. And there's all kinds of things that are going to be blocking, and I expect this. It's really, and I think, I guess everyone saw my thing on the little, garden sheds that are just adorable, I think. And I come from a builder family, and we think in terms of structures and buildings and architecture, and so it's easy for me to put all this together in my head. And it's not that big a deal. We could create ourselves, and so it's something that could be done. It's something we could do for a very low amount of money, maybe $10,000 per unit, but probably much less. So it's kind of daunting, to tell you the truth, because I know it's going to be getting into the politics. It's going to be getting into all kinds of things that probably I don't even want to know about. I think that's what we're really facing. I don't think we're facing, we don't have the money. What was it? Tricia pointed out, 1.2 billion is sitting there from 3 years ago. And now we've got 110 million. And my simple figures showed that for 123 million, we could create, put 70,000 of these little things in some place, and we'd be having more expenses beyond that. But that's just, off the cuff calculations. So I think what we're going to be looking at and throughout the state is something deeper and nastier. And but I'll tell you, I wish I could. Maybe I should take out my cell phone and go on a little tour of Hollywood so you can see, because I mean, maybe that would be a good idea, because you could see it through my lens eyes. Maybe I'll do that.
That's a great idea, and that's something, if you could write up a piece and include whatever photos or stuff that you have, we could put that on the website.
Okay, I could do that.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, and then everyone could look at this, and maybe have a little map so you could see where these places are, and you'll just be amazed. I mean, there was a tent on the Hollywood Walk of Fame that somebody was living in. There was a tent across from the Man Chinese Theater, which is the ground zero for all tourism in Hollywood, LA.
Yep.
It's amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
so anyway.
This is really helping their tourism.
Oh, yeah. Amazingly so. I mean, there's the corner of Highland and Hollywood Boulevard. If you know what that is the Kodak Theater is there, the Man Chinese. They have like a diagonal crossing. People stand like 100 on a corner to cross into the Man Chinese Theater area a whole bit. And here's this guy with his, stretched out, full length, right across the sidewalk, who's passed out or something with his part of his behind showing. And all these people from all over the world are standing there across the street. It's amazing.
And they're just going to be walking around him.
Yeah. Or some probably stepping over him, but there he is. And I think I took a picture of it.
And somebody could just be dead. Who knows how long they'd be dead before somebody told the police, maybe you ought to check this body out. Unbelievable.
Probably happens all the time. They just don't report it.
Oh, no, they wouldn't.
That's possible too. Yeah, right. You know, if the person is dead, they just sort of, I never thought of that.
Yeah. That's
I mean, so I think what we'll do is we'll be just scratching the surface, and underneath the surface is it's going to be something pretty ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we all know that. And it isn't just here. It's up in when Kim was saying Kimberly up in, what is she, Chino? And there's people homeless.
Chico. Yeah.
Chico, homeless up in, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a very sick state.
Well, there are a lot of places that are having problems, but our big deal is we were talking about this before. We need to get at the root of the problem. We're not just fix like Band-Aid kind of thing. It's what you were talking about before too, Demi. You were talking about you got to get at the issues, because these people don't want to be away from where they're going to be doing their begging, their panhandling. They want to be close at hand to where the most people are so that they can get their meal or whatever it is they're looking for the day.
And they also create a community. Years ago, I was near downtown, and this voice arose behind me, and I was so impressed by the timbre of the voice and the control. And this man was speaking, and I spun around and I met him, and he was a homeless guy. And so I said, you've got the most incredible voice. You should be on the radio. You're really, told me his story. He said, well, like 7 years ago, he's black. He had the police just beat the hell out of him, multiple fractures of his skull, and his skull is like irregularly shaped. And that so devastated his life that he just turned out to be homeless. And he said, you know something? I find that I have more friends, and it's a much kinder, in many ways, caring world on the street, because everybody there's community. And to him, it was something valuable, and I think it would be to anybody. So I think that a lot of these people kind of get in this mold, and there is support. There is a kind of our group, and we all need this. And so I think there's a kind of a momentum that gets built from the people in these camps and encampments and so forth. And that's a secondary problem, I think, that emerges from this sort of situation.
Yeah. Did we lose Debbie?
Looks like it. Maybe she'll come back.
Maybe something happened. She just bounced out.
It could be.
Hopefully.
So anyway.
I think that would be really good if you go out there. You have to be careful though, but you were pretty streetwise. You know what's going on.
Oh, I'm okay. And I can deal with that. And basically, you've seen these movies, and some guy's got his finger bit off and so on. Quite frankly, I mean, these people are not looking for trouble. They really aren't. They're just hunkering down, and I don't think I'm gonna have any problem. I may interview a few of them if I kind of get up the nerve. But I definitely think that if there were a place for them that is amenable, that get them off the street, and then all the other cities, with Manhattan Beach, all these places, you're not going to so go somewhere else. Well, where do they go? They go to the places that will allow them to be. And so that's here, that's downtown, that's different places around the city. So
yeah, you're exactly right. Again, places like Manhattan Beach, they know, these, I don't know if it's the police department or the combination of the police department and the community organizers. They know they don't want people coming there, outsiders coming there. And I'll give you another example. If you go to Manhattan Beach, I went there for my son had a birthday party, and they held it on the beach. There were no restrooms on the beach. You had to walk half a mile or more into, let's say, Hermosa to go to find a bathroom. You know what I'm saying? So it's if you've seen the houses on, let's say, on the seawall, it's ridiculous. It looks, these people have these extraordinary mansions on the right on the seawall that line throughout the entirety of Manhattan Beach. So they want that beach to be exclusive to them. And that's why there are no bathrooms, because they don't want the people from the East counties, let's say, coming in and going to the beach in Manhattan. And another reason is there's no parking spaces in Manhattan Beach that doesn't have a parking meter.
I believe that.
So they kind of, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but they kind of have it figured out, and that's the same reason why you don't see homeless there. Homeless person shows up there, they are immediately intimidated by a police officer. The police force in Manhattan Beach is unbelievable, compared to closer beaches like I said, Hermosa, right next door. It's not the same,
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks, Demi. First-hand experience is always the best.
Yep.
Best way.
Well, I think I can contribute some in that regard. And I've lived in Hollywood for 43 years, so I kind of know the area. And so yeah, I'd be glad to. And I'll work on a little map so people can get an idea. I asked her, I said, well, in this map I had, that it's 350 homeless people. And I talked to Julie from the center last week, and she said, 350? No, there's a lot more than 350 homeless. Thousands. Including people living, out of their cars as well.
Oh, yeah, and there are a lot of people doing that. Or campers.
Campers, yeah.
Yeah, not just Los Angeles. San Francisco has a huge problem with that. I read an article about people that work in San Francisco and have six-figure incomes are living in their campers on the street because they can't afford to pay rent.
Yeah.
What?
The streets are lined with campers and RVs because people cannot afford to pay the rents. And these are people that work for corporations, of course, with six-figure incomes.
Incredible.
They can't afford to live. They can't afford to live there, but they work there. All the well, that's a pretty high corporate city.
I guess a lot of people are just independent enough they don't want to try and find roommates or somebody to help them. Let's face it, the cost of living for housing here, you really need to find a roommate, or it has to be a couple with a good paying job, each one of them, and God help them if they want to raise kids and stuff. But I can't imagine. If somebody buys your house and you got a $600,000 house, they probably got two other families they're going to be living with, just to make ends meet if they want a house. And that there is some apartments too.
I think the situation in California is so dysfunctional at the political level, and over time the laws passed. This is my sense. The whole thing is just so totally out of sync and out of balance that this is what has been created over time. And so you get ridiculous prices. You get what you've described is amazing. Six-figure incomes, and I'm living in a van or something, or living in a RV. Good God. I think this has been going on for a long time. So it's very frustrating because, I don't think any of this is necessary, but we all know that. And I hope the funding comes out soon, but we see what the problems. And so in the meantime, I just look at the people on the street and think, for the most part, I described a woman I met a couple of weeks ago, maybe, and maybe I didn't. Gosh, she was, intelligent. She was caring. She did not want to take money from me. I just about had to force it on her, and she's also black, highly articulate. What the hell are you doing on the street?
Yeah. Life circumstances. Everybody has a story, and that would be interesting. And I know there are probably lots of different kinds of articles out there on people's stories, how they came to be where they are today. Mm-hmm. But I think we need more and more of those stories out there.
Yeah, it would give us a human face to it. A friend of mine was many years ago now, was a Buddhist, and he actually started helping his wife's sister, who had been disowned by the family. And it's a long story, but anyway, she had been in and out of mental things because of her anger, and so he helped her to the point where she could begin to make friends, and she always wanted to marry a doctor. Yeah. And she met a doctor who was homeless. He had been a drunk for 15 years living in the gutter.
Wow.
And so they met, and his story was this. 15 years before, his whole world exploded when his wife just told him, "I'm leaving you. I've got somebody else. Goodbye."
Wow.
His whole world just blew apart, and he started drinking. 15 years of that. And here's a doctor who's just a bum in the gutter, dirty, smelly, And so she met him, and they began to have a relationship. Last I heard, he was, off the bottle and beginning to thinking of getting his practice going again.
Fantastic.
That is so nice. And we're looking, these are people out there. You look at all the shenanigans going on, and you see all this crap going on with California, and you see the people like Pelosi and all the rest. And this is just the tip of the boil, they're the corrupt visible. So, anyway, it can drive me nuts when I think about it.
Yeah. Well, we want to think about solutions, so it helps.
Yes,
if we
correct,
do that.
correct. Even if they're not the whole solution, or to get partway there, yes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Just make some steps towards something.
Yes.
Some improvement. Yeah. It's affecting us all, I know, on so many levels.
Yes, it is.
Probably somebody who knows somebody who's homeless, and we had a friend who her circumstances took her to living in her car, and she was going to campgrounds and staying there because she had a place where she could fix her food and take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And she's self-employed. She's a healer. She doesn't want to have to go look for a 9-to-5, so she's stubborn about it.
I don't blame her for that.
It's hard to do. It's hard to keep that up. Sean, you were right about supporting healers, supporting those people who wanted to do alternative medicine. That's another big issue. We could cure a lot of this stuff.
It's huge. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Go ahead. Perfect.
Well, I've been wanting to bring up something for quite a while, but I love to listen. I just love what you guys have to say, every one of you. But a friend of mine had this book, and he didn't have a drinking or a drug problem either, but he bought this book at a used bookstore, and it was by this lady who was an MD in Boston, Mass, and what she had done was totally against the establishment, and it didn't go anywhere. It was totally against AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and all that. But she was treating people that were addicted to drugs and or alcohol or what have you, and she had them stay with her. She opened up a clinic for them, and she was giving them vitamins, and the dose was to start off with was and this was in the late 70s when she was doing this, and she was giving them high doses, 100 milligrams of the multi-B vitamins. She was having a 78% success rate curing them. 78% of them, 8 out of 10 almost. And Alcoholics Anonymous, with what her book said, was something like a 74% or whatever failure rate. I might have those backwards. I mean, I hadn't read this book, and I read chapters of it once, and here, okay, vitamins are great.
I think you're right, Sean, because I heard a 25% success rate. So you're probably right. 74% failure rate.
Yeah, that's really sad, but it sounds probably true.
Yeah. Yeah, but likely. she had close to 8 out of 10 people with a success cure rate, though.
Yeah. Hey, that's tremendous.
With vitamins. And then there's herbs and minerals and diet and everything else too. So but trying to get a homeless person to take a vitamin, that's not very easy.
No. You would probably.
Well, they're expensive too. I mean,
Yeah.
And also, Willow's article on the site was really enlightening for me, because I didn't consider, you can't keep food in where you're staying, because you get things you don't want. So they really have to live at everything they get costs more than, let's say, when we go to the grocery store. So that's another thing too that comes into play.
Well, that's why you have communities. Excuse me. That's why you have, like I was saying, you have these communities on the aqueducts that come into Los Angeles. Like Santa Ana, Orange County. You can pull this information up easily just by putting in homeless in Santa Ana or homelessness in Orange County, and they will show you pictures of these communities that live in those areas, and they literally are communities. It's not like South Central where, Skid Row. It's not like that. It's a community of tent cities along the aqueducts mostly, and these people are organized. They have a hierarchy. It's a community. It really is. So, I guess you can say that's a good thing, and compared to South Central, it's definitely a good thing. South Central, I have no explanation for that. I can't even imagine how they could let that continue.
Well, Julie told me that I was asking her about Skid Row, and she said, well, Skid Row's another world altogether. Now, that's not exactly South Central. But, back in Paris, in the Hunchback of Notre Dame days, there was something in Paris that was a city within the city. It was the wretched of Paris lived there, and nobody went. It was ruled over by someone who was called the Beggar King. And so from this inner city within Paris, this slum, which was that the crown never got in there, the police, nothing. was its own thing, and from this city emitted all these people who were doing all these crimes. So when you get a situation like that, you get enclaves that are split off politically from the main, society. And while it can be very beneficial in a lot of ways, it also can be a breeding ground for all kinds of things.
Yeah, drugs is the first thing that comes to mind. The drug issue, yeah, biggie. That's big. Yep. Well, London's the same way, right? I mean, they've got their areas that are the same thing. They've got, Charles Dickens, I know he wrote fiction, but he probably based it a lot on what was really going on back in the day in London.
Yeah, Europe is experiencing the same problems as California, all the other major cities in America. And in Europe, it's mostly due to refugees.
Yep.
Let's say Paris, like Demi was talking about.
Yeah, but today,
that homeless situation is definitely present, if not probably worse.
Yeah. Well, I was to Circle of White Light, with what Thomas's
Alan.
That was he's in Ireland, right? And he said, he said all these homeless people in Ireland. I thought, my God, in Ireland? So it's Europe. It's here.
It's everywhere. It's a global societal problem, and for us, in my opinion, all we can do is do the best we can to provide solutions going forward for when the funds are possibly released, we'll have something set up to where we can help some of these people,
Mm-hmm. Throw in the bad education, throw in the chemtrails, throw in all the things they've been throwing at us in the advanced parts of the planet, the so-called first world, and the harm they've done, the movement of industries that used to form the core of the industrial world. All of this put together over time has, I think, created this problem. So that's something that we understand, and I understand it all enormously better than I did before. So that's a good thing, and I think we all do now. But the scope of it is really, really, daunting at times. Yeah. But I think I agree, Jim. We just need to do the best we can do, and I think in time insights may occur to us that can move things along forward when the funding comes out, which still may be a ways off. We'll just have to wait.
I think I was talking to Jim about this, and other people brought it up. I think networking, like Debbie has mentioned how she knows a lot of people who are good people who are getting involved in a lot of different things, and we just put it out there to invite them to join our group because we can learn from them and they can learn from us, and it would be a good cooperative effort to push forth.
Another thing too, yes, thank you. I know, and I'm thinking if I'm going to try to find a way to talk to Mitch O'Farrell, what it would really be helpful for me to say, I'm part of a group and we all think alike, and we're all concerned about this problem, and we're all from all over the state. It isn't just me, there's that kind of force behind it. So I think that's very helpful, just being in this group. Just if I'm going to sit down with him and say I'm just not one person, I'm of course I'm one person, but I got other people who are contributing to this effort and the intent, which is to do something about this. I think that is really important in and of itself. So it's a good thing.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, at some point we definitely have to branch out because, well, first of all, as we all know, we have supposedly 50 members in THI California. And from what I see and have seen all along is maybe 10% participate. So I think I reminded everyone a couple of weeks ago that take a look at the guidelines that Thomas laid down, and he also said on one of his last shows, this isn't a social group. We didn't set these things up to be a social group. This is a working group.
Right.
And I'll have to admit, up until now, we've pretty much gone along with those guidelines. And the next step that Thomas talked about, once we hit that 50-member mark, even though, like I said, most don't participate, is for us to set up a website and move out of THI and become under the peoplesclub.org.
Right.
And he also mentioned that on Alan's show. They're doing that in Ireland, so we're right alongside what other groups are doing. And a lot of the things we discussed, Ireland discussed the same thing, because they're under the same control system over there. And just like, we debated for weeks about which direction we should go to set up a nonprofit. And, nothing ever came of it, still hasn't. And I can understand why. And Alan just explained it perfectly, or Thomas, one or the other, saying that, we want to avoid having to do with anything corporate. Right. Instead go under the cooperative system of our own that we set up along with other groups, and so that's why I'm saying, and Debbie was from the beginning. She asked me so many times to let her bring in people that she knows, that could be such a big help, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't just say, oh, go ahead, because I had to follow the guidelines. But once we have established our website, New Earth, California, don't quote me on this, but I will contact Thomas or Ramona or Holly and ask them, okay, we're there. Can we branch out with our existing core group and branch out into the counties, like Ken's always talking about? He's big with the counties and local communities. That's the only way this is going to grow.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think there's people out there in the counties and communities that are more on board with this information than our own members.
Yeah. Yeah.
In some cases, And I'm not saying to be derogatory to anyone, because, I won't do that. I don't mention names, and I don't, I'm not here to cast judgment on anybody. Everybody's in a different situation financially and family situations. There's so much going on. There's so many variables, but we can do that at any point. And I'm glad you brought that up, Demi, because that's where we need to go, in the new year.
Well, what's the advantage of being part of the People's Club?
Well, we have to be under the advantage. It's not an advantage. The purpose of being under the People's Club is that when the funds do become available, we're there.
Oh.
See, originally it was set up under THI. But again, if you get an opportunity, all you got to do is go to thepeoplesclub.org and look at Thomas's original guidelines for setting up the state groups. And that will explain it to you perfectly. Go ahead, Phyllis.
I was just going to interject one thing. It's actually thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org that you're going to see the state solutions.
Okay, you're right.
And Thomas put
You're right.
state solutions for a reason, because it's solutions. We're not a social group, like you say. This is a solutions group.
Yes.
He wants to see something organized. He's not going to give the money out for any, he and Kim and whoever are not going to give the money out just so we could blow it the way it's been blown all these decades and decades and eons or however long. Yeah. And he wants to see our plans. He wants to see concrete plans. He wants to see people who are willing to do the work, who have got good ideas and have put them down. We need to be writing up some ideas, even if we may not have what we need to make it happen right now, but we have a foundation.
Yes.
I think that's great, because I think, well, all the work that we've done and all of you have done, I've not done nearly as much as many have done, even close. All of that is, even though we haven't formed this or we haven't formed that, the amount of learning that I've gone through and the amount of exploration really gives us, like the corporation soul. I mean, all of that gives us a much better picture of the lay of the land where we might go. And I think that with the funding came out, and I had, my cousin's an architect. I can call up my cousin. I can get people involved really fast and say, okay, if the funding were to come out, we don't have to go to the city. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to go to deal with these creeps, the politicians and the corruption and so on. We just buy some land and manage it.
Get some tiny homes on there. Yeah.
And put tiny little homes or these, whatever the heck they are, and we could just bypass all of that. And the nice thing about the trust, and I have used this before, and the trust is the supreme financial power on the planet. And these politicians understand money and power. And when you couple that with the other aspects that the trust has, the operational assets, because we're dealing with some really, quite frankly, the underbelly is going to be populated with a lot of nasties who will want to interrupt and interfere. It's nice to know that sitting in the background is a power the likes of which these guys have never even dreamed existed.
Get that right.
And, sometimes it doesn't hurt to kind of, it's like brandishing a weapon. You don't have to fire it, but they get a look at that and they go, okay, all right, fine. We don't have to go there. I'm not calling up that now, but it is nice to think that, because I expect if we were really to do something for these people, let's say, I figured out in my little thing, that I put a square mile, use half of the space, put 70,000 in there. Okay, so let's say we find a square mile in Los Angeles County, we buy it, and we start developing. I can guarantee that when these people realize, somebody's actually doing something about this homeless thing because there's so many rackets being run through it, we could probably get some really strong problems. That's kind of, it's like no good deed goes unpunished.
And some strong backup.
What was that, Debbie?
Okay, Debbie has her hand raised.
I was wondering if you could hear me.
Yes,
Sorry.
Debbie has her hand raised. Go ahead, Deb.
Okay. Yeah, we could probably, Demi, also get a lot of help too once that got going. And Phyllis, there's another group that, the phone call last Sunday, I think it was, not Sunday, but the Sunday before, of Thomas. He was talking with the National Liberty Alliance. I've been working with them, and I'm starting to learn the Constitution, and I'm going to get involved. I don't know if it's going to be like, working with the juries or be the committee man, but there's a group that's working really hard to get constitutional law back and bring a lot of bad guys down.
Great.
So yeah, there's a cavalry on the way there.
Great.
Cavalry. Isn't it funny about that word? Cavalry.
Cavalry.
They're so different, but yet they're so close.
Yeah, Cavajo is horse. So
Right.
that's how to remember it.
Yeah, right. Ah, well. Sean, I want to do something with your Real Care. I need you to email me your notes, your write-up. I know it got pulled apart in pieces on MeWe. That's not going to work. I'd like to get your whole write-up on that and do a little organization and maybe get that piece into the website too. If nothing else, to show somebody has some ideas about healthcare and how we can improve it and what we could do to bring it out to people. And you're right, Jim. I mean, it's a monumental task. I remember when I first got on the calls and you and Sean were talking about what a bear that is to try to put into place. But it's still like to put the plan out there, the idea out there, that it would be good to work on as a foundation. Make that one of the foundations.
Thank you,
because it's so important. So,
I agree, and there's
Very.
no better time. There's no better time because we really are. I'm sure everybody must be feeling it. We're on the threshold.
We are.
You know, I mean, the writing's on the wall everywhere you look. You know, and that's the other reason why I think things are so quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet before the storm.
People don't know what to think.
A lot of energy.
Some are hiding out. Some are just like, wow.
Yeah.
Some are, scattering. I don't know, but the jig's up as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, could be. Yep. A lot of energy out there, though. I mean, there's a lot of tension.
All the more reason to get all your information, like Phyllis was just saying, get it on the website.
Yeah.
Put it out there. We get the basis in and we work on it. We clean it up.
It needs some cleaning.
I got to show you what I invested in.
Can anybody hear me?
Oh, we can all hear you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We can all hear you.
Oh, okay. Great.
We're all fine.
Look what I invested in.
Hey,
you can read it backwards.
Looks like a phone book.
No, it's WordPress for dummies.
Yeah. There's also a fantastic site I found in my perusals, which is like this tutorial. I'll just run over like a other computer and get it because everybody should know about this. It's got more stuff in there, and they have a process of taking you through it. I mean, thousands of items, like languages. If you want to learn weird computer languages, they've got languages I've never heard of. They've got everything imaginable in this thing, and it's really set up well. So maybe I'll just put it on Facebook or something so that everyone can see it. 'Cause it's a marvel. I just ran into it, in my course of events. But yes, that would be very, very useful. Phyllis, congratulations! You've got your own. It doesn't look like you're that. You really can't really be a dummy to do that, but it's a nice thought that how many pages does that have?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. You got an index and everything. It goes on to about 400 pages, I think. But lots of pictures. Lots of pictures. I like pictures. Pictures help me.
Well, that's very good. Those are very important, especially.
Yeah. Where did you get that?
Oh, I don't know. I probably ordered it from Walmart or something. I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay, so you could actually walk into Walmart and find it.
Oh, maybe, but I think I ordered it online.
Any bookstore.
Yeah, I did online, but I think, you can. You can probably go to a bookstore to get it. But I just did Walmart.com. Anyway, there's a lot that Michael J. He's using his lunch hour to try and show me how to do stuff. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I should check out this. I did check out WordPress on Tutorials Point, I guess the name of it. And it does look there is a bit of a learning curve in that thing. Yeah. So maybe if I could get some get going myself a little on it too, and maybe make a little contribution along the way somewhere. Yeah, so that's something. Well, I'm really been fantasizing, imagining all the possibilities if Kim gets in front of the UN and how that could change this world in a big hurry.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Does anyone have any info on that more?
You're going to hear it this Saturday.
I was going to say maybe that we'll hear
this
it.
coming Saturday. There's I don't know if you saw it, but there's going to be a 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's going to be a call with Thomas on Spreaker, and he asked everyone to do their best to make it to that call. It's got something important.
That's 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, on Saturday.
Okay.
So that'd be 11 our time.
Yes.
11 a.m.
Yes, 11 our time.
And it has to do with the winter solstice. They're going to be trying to play some nasty games on the winter solstice, and we want to counteract the spell cast. That's what they said.
At the same time, I think he's trying to create some energy for the UN situation that he spoke of.
Okay.
They're going to be having. Go ahead.
That is so exciting. Well, I jotted down a few things. What is the Ur Council?
I believe that's off planet. Maybe I could be wrong. Is that not one of the off planet councils or?
Well, Ur, I thought this is generic for planet.
Okay, well, I could be wrong.
I think that's Earth is
Earth,
generic.
yeah,
for
EARTH, Earth, or it could be URTH.
UR is the way I spell it. I was just wondering because it may have been, he mentioned the 7-person council that was the Earth Council, and I was wondering if that was it, or maybe he'll tell us on Saturday.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, that's very exciting.
Yeah, you never know.
Yep. No, thanks for I will be certain to tune in on Saturday.
So we just get on to the People's Club and hit on his, current whatever he's currently going to be speaking to get to Spreaker like that.
I think it's www.spreaker.com/ and then there's a number that's his number.
I could get it.
Yeah, it's a download. I've used Spreaker all along, and I'm not sure what operating system you're using, but for a Mac system, it's just a download the Spreaker app, and you can get on there. It'll actually notify you when there's a show.
Super. I feel like I've been missing, and I wasn't sure how to solve that. Okay.
Probably the best way to go is to go directly to Spreaker. Although you can actually pull it up. A lot of people post it on the, let's say, Facebook chat room. I know Holly holds a chat room for every show, and people will post the link to Spreaker right on Facebook, right on the Facebook chat room.
On the on Thomas's Facebook.
MeWe too, right, Phyllis? Doesn't
yeah, he does. Yeah. He does post links. He posts the links for his regular Thursday show, and I'm sure he'll put one up for this too.
Well,
probably see it tomorrow.
Okay.
Right.
I just looked it up, and so if you want to jot this down, you can go there. Just you have the numbers, and you go www.spreaker.com, then /user, and then / this number. It's 8955881.
Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah. And that'll get you right to Thomas, and then he should have all the stuff there. But, yeah, it's kind of hard to get to.
I have to sign into my Google email to be able to click like at Spreaker. I don't know. Did you set up a Spreaker account, Jim?
Well, you must all be on PCs.
Yeah.
Sitting at your desk on PCs.
Yep.
The only thing I use is a iPad, and for any Mac system, as you know, it's all about the apps. Just like their iPhones, it's all about apps. Oh. So you just go to the App Store, click on the Spreaker app, install it. It's free, and that's it. That's all you ever have to do. It's that easy.
And then put in the 8955881.
You don't even have to put that in. All you have to do is download the app, and like I said, it will notify you of your the shows that the shows that you're subscribed to. Let's put it that way. Kind of like
so you subscribe.
Kind of like YouTube, you know.
Right, subscribers. That makes sense. I could probably do that from my PC, I'm sure. I could probably set it up too. Just click on subscribe once I'm on the site. So once I'm on, sign in to this user /895 blah, 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 just click on subscribe. There's probably a place to do that. Never thought about that, but that makes sense. Because you can also, once you're in there, you can make comments. And that one time I was on there and I noticed how many people were following, how many likes he had, and it was a big number. So I did a screen capture, and I put it in MeWe. And I said, wow, because Thomas had said they play around with the numbers just like they do with people on YouTube. When you tell them the truth, they mess around with that. And so I showed it, what was real at the moment. But then I looked later and it changed. So.
What
is it? Go ahead, Tim.
How many people normally will listen to his weekly radio show then?
I do.
Always.
Oh, yeah.
How many people are listening during the show? I mean, is it thousands or hundreds? Or?
Could be thousands, and it's worldwide.
Right.
You know what I wonder is how to get onto the calls that Kim is on.
Yeah.
You know, they have those. He says he's got calls that she does, and you know, all the world leaders are on it.
Well, Thomas has said that's a security issue, and he has to be real careful because certain people don't want other people to know they've been talking to Kim.
Right. That might not be available yet.
Yeah,
that might not be available to us yet. But Kim has been on some shows, and again, by way of Spreaker, all of the past shows have been archived. If you're a Patreon member, that's another place where you can not only listen to the shows but also find all the archives to past shows.
Okay.
I also download every single Spreaker show, and I have a system so that I've downloaded stuff and it has disappeared from my machine.
Wow.
Yeah, a pretty big drop.
You're not working Microsoft Windows 10, are you? I see Phil is cringing. I just read an article how many thousands or millions of people were hacked by way of Windows 10.
The truth is that, as far as I'm concerned, Windows is pretty much a window into your system. And that what I understand too is when you call up your IP, to log into, onto the network, the internet, every single chip, every single machine has an ID number from the manufacturer, and that's included along with your login. So if you think you could be anonymous by going through some virtual shield or something like that, well, it isn't that everybody is looking at it, but every time you do that, you are identifying yourself, and then they can have the lookup. So the clowns,
Right.
So what I have is a disconnect system, and I only connect it when I'm saving stuff. So I recommend everybody do that if they're not. And also, as I'm moving forward on this Linkbox thing, that is going to be very valuable, because if suddenly something disappears from YouTube or somewhere else, if you've got this archive somewhere and you can put it on a different platform and direct a URL to it, people can still see it. And that's really important, because, as things get hotter, it's just they're going to get more desperate. They already are.
We've been exploring some new platforms just for the purpose of when YouTube decides to pull us all off.
Yeah, pull our plug.
The last date I heard was December 10th, but presently we're still THI California. We have our own YouTube channel. There's 10 subscribers as we speak. But as you know, Thomas has one too. The way it was told to me was that YouTube was going to eliminate all truth channels, and they've already eliminated an enormous amount of channels over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. But this is kind of like their last push. So far, we're still on there. I talked to Michael about it a little bit, and we're just putting together some backup platforms that we can just take our channel and put it right onto a new platform and just keep going.
Call it New Earth. Whoops.
Yes.
Sorry.
If you punch in, let me see. If you just go to your YouTube channel, existing YouTube channel, up into the search box and just put in New Earth, California, yes, it will bring you right to our channel. I don't know how long it's going to be there, or maybe, heck, we don't say anything wrong, do we?
No, we don't go into political stuff. We don't do anything that should offend anybody.
Tomorrow morning, when this recording goes out to Facebook and MeWe, Michael puts it also on our YouTube channel, and there's no visuals; it's just audio.
Oh, good.
Like Thomas, like Thomas's, yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, I like, I think, your sense of is exactly right, that there's a whole thing, the whole superstructure that has run this world is just falling apart. And it's so nice. Oh, man.
Well, there's going to be some pain, though, before we get the gain.
Well,
that.
to get rid of this monster that's sucking parasite that's been on our face, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We have to bring it down. We have to get it to go away so it can be cleaned up and redone.
And Kim and Thomas put their lives on the line every day for this. So yeah, there's some stuff going on, but I am so thrilled, and I hope she speaks to the UN, and I hope the world will just be rocked. So I've been kind of getting myself high and thinking about it. I get to fantasize.
Hi, Pam, Joni.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Pam.
I've been working, so I just came in again. Anyway, I think that they should definitely have some pain now. They've been dishing it out. Now it's time for them to take it.
Yeah.
You're here.
Hey, how is it busy at work? You've been busy for the season?
Not busier than usual.
Yeah. I'm not seeing as many crowds out there as I thought. I think they're going to have another bad sales season out there.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, where I've been, there have been some crowds. We're going to be going on a bus to Mission Viejo Mall tomorrow. So we'll see what's going on there. But that one is usually pretty busy.
Yeah.
Bill, you were talking about, moving over from THI California to New Earth. And I guess my only concern is, that we lose anybody, because I found you because Thomas said we're doing these state groups. Go look for THI California.
Again, don't quote me. And believe me, I will speak to Thomas directly before we make any kind of a move like that. I was just throwing that out there because that's what the original guidelines stated. Whenever a group reached 50 members, they not only could choose to move away from the THI banner and into the peoplesclub.org for the purpose of project funding, but also so that we could start our own website and be able to bring in people such as you suggested, Demi suggested, from the outside without having to first be a member of THI main group, which has always been the issue from day one here. You'd be able to bring in people from your local communities into New Earth, California, which is the website that will be present under the People's Club. And then those people also will have the opportunity to put projects into the People's Club. Community members, county members, and the best thing to do is take a look at the guidelines. You'll understand better what I'm saying. And again, I won't do anything such as that until I speak with Thomas personally on the matter,
Well, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a way to direct people to us as well.
Right, and at the same time, that'll give us the opportunity to bring a lot more people and expose them to THI.
Right.
At the same time.
Yes. Sounds good.
I have been wanting to ask, and my internet's so bad here in the mountains, I keep losing you guys, but my husband let me use his MacBook here, so this is working out. That G cloud that Thomas mentioned a few weeks ago, does anybody know what that is? I think it was G cloud or G wave.
Oh, yeah, G wave. He's talking about the energies. Sean probably knows a lot about that.
I don't know if he heard you. He's chewing on something.
Got my mouth full.
Yeah, it's the energies that have been coming in. I guess G means galactic center. Is that right? Is that right, Sean?
He's still chewing.
Sadidi, we want to know.
Is it gummy bears? What?
I have some toffee here.
No.
Oh, the toffee will do it. Pull a filling.
Okay, we'll get back to that.
Well, I want to ask the question, has anybody heard anything from Tricia? She hasn't been on the past couple or so calls. I've been wondering about her because she knows a lot of people too, like you, Debbie, and I don't know. I mean, do you see her on Facebook or anything?
I haven't seen her on MeWe.
I haven't seen her on MeWe, but she's been more of a Facebook person, I think.
Yeah.
Hasn't she? Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know she moved over to MeWe, and I don't see her present on the Facebook members page. So not sure what happened. Like I said last week, things have been kind of strange for the last couple weeks. I just assumed it had to do with everybody doing their holiday thing. And they have the right to do that. I tried to contact Eric. I haven't heard from Eric for quite a few weeks, and haven't heard anything back. And that's not like him.
I know, it's strange.
So I just asked him to just shoot me a message to let me know he's all right.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as last time I did talk to him, he said he had an opportunity to go out of town. He lives like up in Riverside, and had some kind of a building opportunity up in up off Highway 101. I can't think of it's a Spanish name. Up by Monterey.
Okay.
Inland from Monterey, off the 101. He had something going on there that he told me about. So it might just be something like that.
Yeah.
And I know he dropped off Facebook, and he's still listed on MeWe, but haven't heard from him.
So you mean he actually pulled out of the Facebook THI California?
He told me last time I talked to him that he just refuses to use Facebook.
Ah, okay.
So I don't know if he's still listed as a member or not, but he's definitely not. He wasn't responding. He wasn't posting anything.
Okay.
And yeah.
Another defector, yes.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
I don't care about it. I hope people
Facebook
do defect.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, this is the kind of time of year when everybody's schedules get all jumped. I mean, I'm in a total different mindset. Even if I'm doing the same things, I just don't think the same way. I think everyone's kind of like that. So I'm not going to come back to normal till after the 1st, I think.
Yeah, agreed. That's why I thought it'd just be nice to, if anybody decided to come on tonight, I appreciate it. Just to, keep things moving along and have some fun, just talk, and, give everybody a breather.
Yeah.
We did a lot of work. I have to admit that. I give it to all of you.
Yep. This is. Well, if anyone want to hear the report from the bugs last week at Caltech.
Sure.
Sure.
What bugs?
Bug-eyed bastards?
No. During the school year, Caltech has a public lecture they present, and they're every Wednesday. They're on the Wednesday, but that's about it. So they're and it can be anything and anyone. And if you've ever been on the campus, it is a small campus. It is a very intimate campus. It's nestled in Pasadena. It's not like a big UCLA or anything like that. And it is just the most amenable place I can think of spending any time in Los Angeles is on Caltech. And so this thing is on Wednesdays. And they just get usually it's a professor who's running, he's educating, he's got students, graduate students, and they're working on the most incredible stuff. And he's just up there talking away, and afterwards you can go up and talk to him and chat him and whatever. So it is such a warm environment. The vibes are just so incredibly good. Very intimate, very personable. Anyway, so this was about the role insects, how they manipulate each other. And so basically what they were studying is beetles. Beetles preceded ants in history. And beetles, there's zillions and zillions of species, but there's a certain type of group called the rove beetles. And the rove beetles specialize in living in ant colonies. Now, ants are ferocious about anyone getting in there who isn't the right type of ant. So what these beetles have done is to have disguised themselves. They disguise themselves as ants. It's amazing the shapes they've adopted. And then they have various things they secrete. One is a punisher, which is something that they can take their back end of themselves and twist it all the way around and strike the ant right in the face if it's giving them trouble, and the ant just goes, enough. They've got another one that is a drug the ants just love, and it just pacifies them. I think of the mainstream media when I think of this stuff. And then there's another variety that climbs on top of an ant and covers itself with whatever. The ants are very chemically driven, That's how they identify each other and all this. And they're constantly stroking each other and interacting with each other. And their vision must be good enough so that you kind of have to look like them. So, and then finally, there's the type that just is the tank. And he showed pictures of this, in videos, and this thing looks like a beetle that has turned into a tank. It is covered with armor. Doesn't care. It just goes into these colonies. They can't get through it. And it just is like a tank that goes right in there and just helps itself. Now, the nastiest ants of all are these army ants down in South America. And they are incredible. But, I have to say, because the images, he's got nothing but images and videos of these ants and, what's going on. I just fell in love with the insects. They are the most beautiful and incredible creatures, and the ants are so social. These beetles, they've adopted so many different forms, and some of them are so absolutely gorgeous that, I knew a woman and she just called them jewelry, and they really are. So this whole thing was about how these rove beetles change their appearance. They use different types of pheromones and to punish, they use techniques to disguise themselves. It's all about disguise. So when you think of it, he said, well, okay, so there's three things. First of all, symbiosis is not mutual beneficial. It's just social. So symbiosis is different species getting together and interacting. That's symbiosis. Then within that framework, you have mutualism, where species are mutually beneficial. And then you've got the parasites that are the benefit only goes in one direction. Now, I think it's correct to say that the Rothschilds would be a parasite. The order was a parasite. And so if you look at the insects, and then you look at, human society, you begin to see, it's just pretty much, I was thinking, what is the mainstream media? Well, the mainstream media is the drug. It's the deception. So the parasite, which owns the media, can come in there and help itself. So the mainstream media is the deception, and so it can have different forms. It can have kind of the drug deception, where the ants in this, were, given this stuff, and they just love these beetles. They'll turn on their own. And so you start comparing this to what's going on, and I walked out of that thinking in terms of ants and beetles. When I look at our social situation, it's it just scales up. That's all it is. It's the same old thing, only in a bigger scale. It's parasites, mutualism. Anyway, so that's.
I'm thinking about aphids and ants. Aphids will attack a plant and secrete something sweet and sticky. The ants will actually farm them somehow. They bring them in because they know the aphids they'll bring them into a plant they know the aphids will like, and then they have a symbiotic relationship because they'll devour the sugar that the aphids put out. Your plant's getting destroyed, but that's what's going on. It's amazing.
That's amazing. And these are ants. And you should see these. They have these incredible videos because they have their stuff is really good. And you should see them interacting with each other. It's incredible. They're stroking with each other. They're meeting. They're feeding each other. they're doing all this stuff, and they're ants. Their brains are so small. I mean, and yet they can do this. So it just amazes me the wonder of these little creatures. Yeah.
They're true cooperative.
Yeah.
True cooperative. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, this is Kenny. I'm late. My apologies, but I'm here. Going back.
Hi,
That's
Kenny.
okay, Ken.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for coming.
We're all
You're up.
relaxed and just chatting.
You're up to bat.
Yeah, report in, buddy. Report in.
No problem, no problem. I just, what's been going on with our 501c versus our constitution and soul?
Everything's on hold till after the new year.
After the new year, okay. Then I don't feel so like I missed out or I should have been here or anything like that.
Not at all. These are
Oh,
just
good. Okay.
end of the
There's
year.
only 6 of us on right now, I hear.
Yeah. Now 7.
Wow. Well, that's a good number. I'll take it.
Lucky 7. Yes, and Sean is pretty soon. Sean's gonna be talking to. What was he supposed to be talking to us about, Jim? I forgot.
The G something G wave.
Oh, the G wave.
G waves. Ken
The
might
G
know
wave.
about that too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to hear about that. I'm going back to mute.
Oh, one thing, Kenny.
Yeah.
There's a call this Saturday. Thomas is gonna, he's going to be on speaker at what time was that? 2 o'clock.
11 o'clock California time.
Let's see. I heard it was 2:30 Eastern. Last time I looked, this about the winter solstice crap they're pulling, right?
Right. 2 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So I'm there. I'm already been working. I got a tap on it last week, but it was a light tap. Like, well, I know it's coming. Something's happening. So, but now this confirms it, and that's good. I'll be running some programs and doing some clearing and maybe even some tracking. And for those who don't know what tracking locating is, it's map dowsing and location tracking for, well, I still do it once in a while for Amber Alerts and lost kids and for the good sheriffs and good people who are looking for. But you got to be real careful because if you find the kid, you say, "Hey, this kid is there," then they come after you thinking you did it. So you got to do it kind of like off the cuff, you know. But,
that makes sense.
No, I've been almost 100% on that over the last 30 years. It's really, really cool. But anyways, I don't mean to interrupt. What about this G-Cloud? I haven't had a chance because of the attacks. They've been just torpedoes have just been coming right and left, and people just losing it. Oh my goodness, you know. Yeah. And it's affecting me and my ability to actually stay current sometimes. So even with triple shields up and I'm running a triple shield with a bandpass filter, love in, hate doesn't go in, and I don't know. How's everybody else? And the G Cloud thingy, I'd love to hear about more. I'm going to mute unless you need something else.
Yeah, Sean's got some information for us.
Well, I really, honest to God, don't have any more information than I had before. But what I'll just reiterate it, and well, it was a couple of years ago when the waves were coming in, and I got it, and then I got it again, and I grabbed my guitar, and I found out it was what I thought it was a high G. And that's the last time I checked. I sent Tommy an email, and I said, I think I'm in A432 hertz instead of 440. So I'm not sure which it is because the frequency seemed to be on the guitar in between. So heck, I don't know. But the frequency's there, and anyway, I have got multiple over the last few years, in spite of having a bit of tinnitus. It just comes through, right through the tinnitus, which is my tinnitus. It's not severe, and it's not really a problem so far. I'll figure out how to get rid of it, huh? Jim, I still haven't had time to even look at what you sent me, my friend, but I appreciate you sending me that. But I was concerned because I didn't hear it, and Thomas was real concerned about us getting it, and real concerned. And so I sent him an email, and I told him I only heard it for about 8 seconds, and that's it. And for me, I had another one at a different pitch, but it was a wave, and it was in the left ear. This he said it would be in the right ear, and it was for me. Second one since then, it's only 2 since then, and that was in the left, and it was a different note, and very high pitch, like a high pitched D or something. And but I sent him an email. I'm concerned because I only heard it for a little while, and he sent an email back to me right away. He said, "No worries, it comes in waves, so no problem." Yeah, and that was the gist of it, and that's everything I know about it, except for sometimes after getting the download, I sent to the chat. Did anybody else just get a download and feel all kinds of love? And he sent me a little chat back with that's great, Sean, something like that. That's everything I know about it.
All right.
I wish I could say more. And then you were asking about the Ken, and glad you're here. Asking about the status of the identity of what we're going to do, and boy, it's just every which way but loose is a mess, except for what Kimberly had proposed, and with the hour by hour
time bank.
The time bank barter type system, something that holds it all under their surface, if you will. And I really like and appreciate what you were saying about Jim about half an hour ago about keeping it under the table, whatever way we can. Because wow, anything dealing with them or especially common law, it's not time for common law. Sure, it exists, and they can posture all they want about this and that as far as common law, but the just them system that they look at it, well, this is just for us. The big shots, the judicial, and our cronies, well, don't be a martyr. Don't do anything common law. Shoot, I had 3 of those trusts, and they were expensive. It was part of a big deal that I had when I was doing financial planning. And I sent emails over that. I explained all that, but I got quite a few stories about it that are, they're true. And it's not time. And even Thomas, he's had to send out several posts about, and several times that over his shows he's mentioned that it's not time. Don't do it. It's their system. And
yeah,
so, I don't have all the answers yet. We'll find one.
Well, I ran into that stuff. My idea was unlawful civil seizure with no criminal activity, no warrants. Yeah, it's posted on the file section near the bottom. The pygmy brief.
Uh-huh.
The other 2 pygmy briefs are in evidence right now. I can't post them because they're evidence, and I'm still in the middle of that. But natural law, I found in my studies to be the strongest one because that is given by the Almighty, the source. They say God in the text, but a natural law is one that's given the strongest by far beyond common law. And I know Thomas mentioned a while back ago that common law just came about, is not the strongest thing, not to go by that. And if you state under natural law that you're a natural human being, that's a lot stronger per my experience.
But we're still under the system of just us, as in it's only for them and not for us, and we're the wee little people, and and believe me, I represented. Jim knows this a lot about this too. I represented myself in court for 2 years. There were no drugs and no alcohol. They started with the DWI in California. I mean, that's the worst, right? DWI. Then, I guess they're going to reduce it down to a DUI. There's no drugs or alcohol. And here I am in front of his dishonorable, non-public elected judge. I recused him. In other words, I fired him. I did that to 5 of them. I got rid of every public offender that they appointed with me. And they wore me down so bad over 2 years. And that was after I just got through taking care of my folks for 4 years, and I was about unrecognizable like now. Just wiped out, right? And some packages were spilling in my car that were extremely expensive minerals that I take, liquid ones, and so I swerved and near 2 cops. They freaked out. And, long story short, though, I couldn't hack it with the jury trial. I was having to make the choice of either quit this or have my gallbladder taken out. So I did the natural cures on my gallbladder. Thank God. I still have it, and there's no problem. I cleaned it up. But I had to just take the lowest offense of possible of a dry reckless. Just because some packages spilled. I mean, the cops were just unreal. And then they finally figured out that, well, there's no alcohol, there's no drugs. I guess we better release him. You're not under arrest, and have your friend come pick you up. Wow, wild deal. But see, there's no way of fighting them. If I had a choice, heck, I'd rather just, well, in some circumstances, I wouldn't fight it. I'd just pay them. And just to get it over with so I can get my life back, kind of thing. Because it is absolutely brutal. Brutal. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, the only way around that constitutionally is to under your natural laws, a natural human being, to command a 7th Amendment jury, where the judge is not a judge and you do it honorably. He is a magistrate, and he cannot. The 7th Amendment jury cannot be, no evidence can be withheld, no records can be stricken from the record. they are the power, but a lot of people don't know that, and it's tough to do. You know, if you're really in a bind, I think it's good to play the game right now if you're not really in a corner. But I know that the Bundys got out with a Seventh Amendment jury, and the mainstream media kind of swerved it. They call it a nullifying jury, but actually it's a Seventh Amendment jury, and that's how they got out of that.
Wow.
Yep.
But if you're all by yourself and you don't have any help, and you got a code book and you're just discovering everything you possibly can, and it's tearing your life up, don't be a martyr.
And it's also when you go up as a pro se in Latin in court.
Oh boy.
Pro se is what you say. Se is Latin for speak. It's not what they say it is. You see what I mean? So you got to watch what you say.
Oh yeah.
So I know well versed in that. So, anyways, as far as the tones, the G cloud, I've heard that. As I stated before, my bass guitar only resonates and comes alive at A444. This stuff on YouTube is A432 and A440 is I think is a bunch of crap. I heard John Lennon tuned his guitar to A444. It's being aware. Left ear receive, right ear transmit. It's tinnitus is not tinnitus in many cases. In at least my case, I had it ringing big time after I got electrocuted in 2008. And wow. I got nailed big time, but that's another story. But I nailed it as 4 gigahertz and took out a frequency analyzer, and of course the cell towers back then were just experimenting with 4G. Nailed it on the nosy. So it can't hurt you. In my opinion, it can't hurt you if you're aware of it and you put it into your shields up in your firewall.
Okay. Wow.
Just like your computer security. Your strongest security is your divine shields up and your firewall. In my opinion, that's what works for me. Did you see my post on that? You saw it.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand it. I mean, it's so much of that's above my head.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm thinking, Ken, that maybe if you put up a little blurb for us that could be simple enough for the average person to figure out. I don't know if that's possible or not. It might be hard to do. I don't know. But if you could do something like that, we could put that on the website too.
Okay. On the THI or New Earth, California?
newearthcalifornia.org website.
Okay. So there's a place. I looked at it. Last time I looked at it, I didn't see a post. There is a place where you can post?
Oh, there's plenty of places we can post. We can create places to post. We've got articles there. We've got YouTube links. We've got all kinds of stuff we're building on the site. There's several articles now.
Okay.
Something Debbie came up with, we put in there, and we're going to be putting more.
Okay, I'll do my best.
It's all right.
To do that, as far as the computer or the law or both.
Let's for now just focus on the computer and what to do with how you do it with your reinforced firewalls or however you want to put it. But something, like I said, for the basic person who's got some knowledge but not an IT person or something.
Right. And I'm speaking as an IT person, I understand. You told me that before. I remember about one thing. I forget what it was.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to figure that out.
Something for the basic noob.
Yeah, or even somebody who's just getting along best they can and not particularly clever with this stuff, but can figure it out if somebody writes them a recipe. That's what I'm looking for, a recipe.
Right. Okay.
Fair enough. Thank you.
So how's everybody doing with their families and their friends? Going, having issues, or how's that going?
Yeah,
We're doing good.
the usual. I am not looking forward to, I'm glad my husband went to bed, because I'm not looking forward to the mother-in-law and sister-in-law who aren't into any of the stuff we're into, but I have to be careful because I don't want to stir anything up and have a nice, pleasant holiday. And so just have to remember to be neutral. Just don't get drawn into any discussions that are going to get me stirred up.
Yeah, I get hit all the time, who am I voting, who am I for, and this whole impeachment thing, and I say, I don't play that game. I tell them I take the third option. My third option is pro-truth, and a lot of people say, well, what's that?
Yay. That's me.
Yep.
Third option.
But, when all this crap is going on in D.C. and the big show, for me, that's to look somewhere else. So I started looking somewhere else. And that's when we saw the coup in Bolivia. We saw the big flashbulb that went above the Show Me State. And we saw, let's see, what else is going on? We've got all kinds of stuff coming up from up south. We've got remote viewed tanks in Yucatan. They've been there for quite some time. China had a lot of plans. I'm glad Trump shut down Long Beach. They're still sitting there locked up in their containers, as far as I know.
They need to do the same in Florida.
Yeah.
There's some stuff out there that's not anything to benefit us. They need to shut down, lock up, or whatever they need to do. Get rid of it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'm seeing now on the internet coming out, which I'm glad to see, is the fight not the fight, but the awareness, putting the awareness out there about the sheriff-coroner issue, where the sheriff, and it's happened here in Mendocino County, where the sheriff is able to, either by vice of office or by blackmail, off somebody or get someone taken care of off by a criminal of some kind, and then he's also the coroner, and the autopsy is inconclusive, and they burn him up, and it's done.
Well, you have talked about that before, and the problem is, even if we learn who the coroner, sheriffs are in every county, whatever, what exactly can we do about it?
Well, what we can do about it is let them know we are aware that they're the sheriff coroner. One friend of mine who had a lot of redwood on his property, who, in my opinion, was taken out, there was a posting in the newspaper that was heavily indexed. I don't know if you guys know what indexing is when they put a comma in between, like instead of saying California, it's Cali, comma, 4, comma, NIA, right? And you find that all over the place. That's indexing. That's a split that denotes who's going to win or lose, also in the court dockets. It's called indexing, and I saw that. I ran down to the court that next morning, and they held that little probate thing before anybody else. The doors were locked when I got there, and then they opened them up a half hour later for everybody else. And I went in there, and before you know it, all the other cases were done. And I was sitting there by myself, and the judge asked me, she said, "Hey, oh, sir, can I help you? What are you doing here by yourself?" And I said, well, I held up the paper, and I said, hey, I've noticed this is heavily indexed. And I called the person, the brother who is on the will, and he didn't even know this trial was going on, and he's in Thousand Oaks right now. Did you ask for the ID of the person who was here? And she said, no. And she said, are you on the will? And I said, no. And then she says, well, I can't talk to you then. I said, well, when will the the final ruling be here and the case number come out in the public record? And she looked at me and said, about 2 or 3 weeks. And I checked it out later on, and it was shut down. The corporate entity that is Redwood Empire here in Mendocino County lost their attempt to take that 75 acres, and it went to the brother.
Yay!
Wow. Fantastic, Ken.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
Wow.
Yep.
Good catch. Good catch.
Yep. So it takes action. It takes balls too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it takes the knowledge, and you have to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, after the first year, I just feel that this corporate soul or corporation soul, if we can nail that down. We haven't heard anything from Deborah on that. Who was it, Deborah?
No, well, Sean and Tricia, I think wasn't that it?
That was Tricia that she was waiting on some information from a gal that was connected with Tank. And Sean, the very next week, informed us on the information that he pulled up on having to do with Corporation Soul. So, we've all done a lot of work in the last 6 months, and in my opinion, I just think it's wise to just let this go until next year, because like we said earlier, we're on the threshold of I believe some serious changes.
Oh boy, are we ever.
So like Thomas always says, this isn't a race. And again, in my opinion, I don't think we should get involved in anything that has to do with the corporation, in any which way, especially now. I think we'd be foolish to go that route.
Yep.
So let's just take it in stride, and I think we'll come the first of the year, we'll have a better scope of what's taking place presently.
Yeah. Did the House of Representatives vote to impeach the president today? I didn't catch that. I've been busy.
I just read that before we came on this call. I think Bill Shelley posted something about the Senate. That's a joke. Nothing's going to come of that.
There were a lot of no vote. People didn't want to commit to yay or nay.
Right. This is all the criminals, Pelosi and all the criminals. The joke, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a big show. It's a big show. Look elsewhere. See what's happening elsewhere. Yep. So if the House of Representatives voted for it, it goes to the Senate, it goes to trial, and that's where it'll get shot down, in my opinion.
It goes for what? Investigate? It's not really. Is it trial or is it investigation or what is the damn thing?
Trial.
It is a trial. It's a joke. That's what it is.
It's a trial in the Senate, and we've got the Senate, so at least what looks like we've got the Senate. But I do think that Thomas is right. If Trump doesn't pull at least one of the ideas that we have presented Trump to do quickly, he's going to be in trouble. And it was interesting to hear he walked out of that NATO meeting, and a few people, as Thomas says, unconfirmed at the moment, were poisoned.
Mary is still at church, and so 9 o'clock is coming up pretty quickly.
You know what those 6 things were, Kenny?
Come in as maintenance tomorrow and take care of it.
I don't think Pam Johnny knows that she's not muted. Pam, hello. Happy holidays, girl. If you have to leave, you've got a chat message here that says you'll have to go out.
There's a key, and I think Spock does.
Oh, we're just going to listen and repeat everything back to her. She just doesn't know.
Whatever you do, Pam, get off your knees and don't put your hands together like in a prayer.
No prayer. What did you call that? What did you call that?
Good advice.
The shape.
Bondage.
Well, but there's a shape he was talking about when you hold your hands like that. What was that, Ken?
Hand over the stove.
Well, that binding. That's binding where they back in the Roman times where they got on their knees and their hands were bound. Binding.
Okay. But I thought there was, I don't know, it was some kind of shape. You were talking about the shape, too. Something you said.
The shape, yeah. If you look at the icon, one of the icons of the prayer hands, you'll notice a pentagon in the bottom of it.
Pentagon, okay. Pentagon, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I had heard in yoga that the hands together activate your right and your left brain hemispheres.
So it's all about intention. If the intention is just put yourself in that place, rather than be supplicating to some god or something, that's a different story.
Right.
Well said.
One of my son married a Catholic woman, and all my grandkids go to Catholic school, and I was with the other grandma, and her friend's son was getting married, and they did a prayer, and they all went, they all did that, and I whispered over in her ear, that she was in chains or bondage or something like that, and she says, "Shh, oh shush."
Bye-bye.
That was fun. Oh stop.
Worship.
Oh stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Worship sure sounds like warship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always reminds me of that. Yeah. The last time I was my mom and dad's funeral, about a year apart, and here I am in a Catholic church. Catholic, whatever you want to call it. But hi, Pam, Joni.
Hey,
but
Jim,
anyway,
you could mute her, Jim.
And so hopefully it won't.
Gladly.
She just doesn't know.
No.
But I thought I was in hell. I went to parochial school, parochial school where they teach you how to lie because they're all liars. And
Thanks,
I got kicked out of the altar boys because I fell asleep being an altar boy. Yeah, no kidding, man. I started to fall over, and Monsignor Vulture had, oh God, he told me, "I don't care what your dad does to you. You're kicked out of the altar boys now." Thank God. And I'm going, by the way, for what? Falling asleep. Oh, yeah. And, yeah, really, God. But yeah, worship. Yeah, worship. That just makes me ill, and being in a Catholic church, all the funerals that I'll ever go to will never be in a church. I can't set foot in one of those places, Just can't.
Yeah, how about that? How about the movie Pianist, where the city was Warsaw?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah, it was. It is.
Well, I made up a god, and very simple religious creed, and I think it would actually work. Because the thing is, you could do that. I mean, but yeah, I grew up Lutheran, and when we moved to a Lutheran church where they practiced hellfire and damnation stuff. It was a revivalist thing, and I've never seen anything like that. I mean, it is. You talk about groupthink and mind control and whipping a group of 15-year-olds into hysteria, and that's what they did. And it just was absolutely terrifying. At first, I didn't know what was going on. I thought someone had died because I wasn't out in the campfire where they got everyone worked up. 100 kids come in crying their eyes out, and but fortunately, I was old enough, and then we went on these retreats to watch the show, is what we called it. But it's brutal. It's terrifying. Hellfire, damnation, I mean, demons, everything. It's just amazing what kind of stuff they put into kids' heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that holiday note.
Well, you know something, it is a matter of intention because, you know, I've met Christians who are very loving, really
Yes.
loving, and who are benefit, and who just ignore all that other crap. And to these people, you know, they are loving. So his intention is really important.
Yep.
Yeah, intention's important, and like I said, I suggested put your seatbelts on, which means, you know, hold on here in the next couple of weeks. As Thomas said about you know, we know your intentions. You're trying to create World War III again, and if you launch any missiles or fire any weapons against humanity, we're going to take out all your underground bases. And
Yeah.
you know, I've got some heavy taps on that. That's one of my gifts, and I've been working on that, neutralizing that stuff. And anywho's,
Go for it.
yeah, I got it from my grandfather. You know, I sit on my grandfather's lap back in the early '60s. He was an aeronautical and rocket engineer, and he was, of course, it was compartmentalized, but he had to build an engine had to fit in a certain size, and he said, well, it was driving the computers nuts, and I used to sit on his lap as a kid, and he was drawing this engine up, a ramjet engine, he called it, and he had to fit within a certain compartment, and it had developed so much thrust, but it was just called the Bird, you know. Well, later on, I found out from him before he died that it was the cruise missile. And so he taught me a lot about rocketry and nuclear weapons and all that kind of stuff. So awareness is a big thing when you're working to stop things and neutralize things. And luckily, we've been okay. You know, the British tried to test fire not too long ago, a year or two ago, tried to test fire a Trident missile out of one of their submarines, and it took off, went 180 degrees, and went towards Florida, and they had to blow it up in the air.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So, anyways, keep your seatbelts on. I think it's a good idea just to wait here the next couple of weeks and see what happens first of the year and over the holidays, and hopefully Trump will be able to pull off a few things. I hear we're not sending the troops over there. I hear the truth came out about Afghanistan, and well, truth is coming out all over the place, and that's a good thing. So
yeah.
And I talked to my family, and I talked to my daughter not too long ago, and I said, hey, you know, blah, 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 blah. And she says, well, I just don't have time to get into that stuff. I'm too busy working. I'm too busy supporting my family. And, you know, that's part of the issue. You know, people are just so busy trying to stay ahead of the curve, you know, still working and raising kids and Geez. So, anywho's,
Well, they're just trying to keep their head above water and survive day by day.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to say good night and wish everybody a safe holiday, a happy holiday, and see you next year.
Okay,
Sounds so
Phyllis.
funny every time we do this. See you next year.
Yeah.
All right.
See you next
Okay,
year.
Phyllis,
It's
thank
gonna be a
you.
whole year
You take
before we see
care.
each other
All of
again.
you take
Wonderful
care.
holiday.
Thank you.
Right
Thanks,
on.
Thank you.
thanks
Bye-bye.
everybody for coming tonight, and appreciate all that you do and have done. And have a wonderful holiday season. And we'll see you next year.
Okay, we're talking next Wednesday?
We're off next Wednesday, Ken. See you next year, buddy.
All right, man. Good talking to y'all. Love ya.
Yeah.
Love you all too.
Okay, bye.
Love y'all too.
Good night. Love
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.